Hey, well, hello there, Internet. I am back live to you from the shores of Lake Michigan. It is a beautiful, beautiful Monday here in the windy city of Chicago, Illinois. Now that the air show from this weekend is over, the storms have moved out and it's perfect flying weather, but we don't have to worry about that anymore because, well, the air show's over, so no more planes. Gonna jump in here. I'm gonna put a little caveat. I've been screwing around with my NeoVim settings a little bit, so if I seem particularly if it looks like I'm struggling, I'm already struggling, I guess. But if I look like I am struggling particularly hard with NeoVim today, it's because I've tweaked a couple settings just to try and make life easier for me in the long run. I've only been using like NeoVim for, I don't know, probably longer than it seems like at this point, maybe about 2 years. But it's one of those things I feel like, kind of once you learn how to quit NeoVim, everything kind of falls into place. I exaggerate a little bit, but it's one of those things where you kind of reach a comfort point and you get back to sort of where you were in your previous editor, and it's like, okay, this isn't so bad. But then you get into this comfort zone where the whole point of switching to a text editor like, I guess, Emacs or NeoVim or something like that is to really dig into the features and actually enable yourself to do things that you normally, other text editors theoretically don't allow you to do. So I'm sort of in that comfort zone where I just kind of fumble around a little bit, and I'm trying to push myself to learn it a little bit better. Anyway, all of that is a long way of saying I've tweaked some of my new NeoVim settings, and so if I'm struggling a little bit with the changes I've made, getting used to that, then now you know why. The other thing I want to start off here with is, well, first I should get into the code directory. I'll do that on both windows. Yep. I was looking through, once again off stream, I was looking through the changes I had recently done with the discovery part of the framework. Because I was thinking about, well, I did a bunch of changes, so I just kind of wanted to go back and look, but I've also still been thinking about how some of the stuff is handled there, and if there was a way to sort of compress discovery down into a single pass. I've mentioned a couple times that right now discovery, it used to be like 3 passes, and we've gotten it down to like 2 passes where it used to be like discover identifiers, do validation, then do any sub-discovery on the identifiers that we have found. And for the most part now, it's discover identifiers and validate them, and then do sub-discovery on those identifiers. Because there's some things I need to make sure are initialized before we can proceed with that sub-discovery. But I think I've been thinking about it, and I'll need to poke around more in the framework. It's not something I want to take care of today. I think there's a way I can get that down to 1 pass. But what that means is I was poking around in the code again, and in my continuing saga with keeping my comments maintained, I left some to-dos in here because we took care of this to-do, and actually I should make sure I'm on the correct branch. Oh. And to do that, I should be in an actual code repository. So git, what am I doing? Git branch. So let's go back to trunk here. Actually, we'll check out just another fixed branch off of trunk. And I don't know if I ran status. Okay, so I do have a clean directory here. So now let's just make sure I'm where I think I am. Okay, so we'll delete this to-do because that to-do is done. And another thing I noticed was down here in Discover Class, where we check for, oh, well, I see I have that to-do I need to get rid of again. I forgot to document that but this check here to make sure that attributes exist is actually a backwards compatibility check. So, and we have done that to do. And I think that was all the lingering comments I found, and looking through, there's some other stuff I can take care of, but I don't. Again, I kind of want to move out of discovery for a minute, and I've titled the stream that we're going to be poking around with diffs, so I want to get into that. But I just wanted to. Comments are one of those things I feel like if you don't keep them clean, when I come back to this 6 months later, I'm going to be like, huh? And then now that I know that it's still fresh in my mind, let's just clean this up. Okay, so let's just quit out of here and make sure we don't have any changes. Clean up comments and discover.php. That's basically the extent of that. Let's merge in our fix for some loose definition of the word fix. Let's just push this up. Let's delete fix. Now let's go back to the diff. Let's check out a rebase branch off of it. I learned, learned my lesson Sunday when I like everything. Anybody that watched Sunday, which nobody was, but regardless, if somebody maybe went back and watched the VOD, and I started things off pretty rough with JIT or GIT or however one wants to pronounce it. Everything I did there was my own fault. I typed the rebase command incorrectly, and as a result, I ended up rebasing branches off of branches that, well, I ended up rebasing the wrong branches off of other wrong branches, and ended up creating a complete mess for myself, which I managed to dig myself out of. But everything that happened there was just probably me trying to use JIT while talking at the same time. So with that, okay, so we are now in diff, or no, we're in rebase, which is based off of diff, and I'm just going to rebase this off of trunk again, and that should be fairly straightforward. So we'll delete diff now, right? We've got move diff. Yep, everything looks fine. And then we'll move rebase to diff. Okay, so we're in a good. Oh, we're in a good spot there. Okay, so the other thing I did overnight, I guess, was I had some more deep thoughts about diff, because as these last changes indicate, I also realized I need to come back into this commit message and put more or less at the end of the words, because it's obviously a very less filled commit, and I didn't less enough things here. But we'll maybe see how much time we have available at the end of the stream and kind of hit that. But if you look at the work I've done the last couple streams, I implemented generating diffs for these less than and greater than operators. And since we're not used to looking at diffs, I guess, in that context, I've just kind of been thinking about, so what should a diff for that operator actually look like? And so let's go to my assertions here, because yesterday it was a pretty light day, I guess. I just went in and plugged in some assertions, mostly to see if we were getting output that seem to make some modicum of sense. So, well, I don't think I want to. Will that close the window? No, that will. I don't know what I just did there. Well, see, this is what I'm kind of talking about. I don't know how to close the window at this point without also deleting the buffer. And I thought C window may have done that. And I don't know what that did. Maybe, I wonder if I should look just to see if I'm in the process of deleting my hard drive or something. Open the quick fix window. Okay, that did not happen. There's no quick fixes to what we're doing here. So, right, our standard diff algorithm, we have, I guess, oops. right, we have from, and we're diffing that with 2, and our default operator is, if we're considering this from a PHP perspective, like strict comparison. And from and to, I guess, can be any arbitrary value. Normally we're dealing with strings, and to make life easier, we'll split that up into different lines. But it doesn't really matter, I guess. Right now I support diff for arbitrary types, but for this discussion, the type doesn't matter, so let's just consider strings. So I think the example on Wikipedia the other day was GAC versus agcat. So if we have from equals GAC, and I completely understand why you want to get away from GAC and go to agcat. And I'm not going to be able to do this diff in my head, so maybe I should just pick out the Wikipedia article. But we're basically going to have, I think we're going to have like a plus A, then G will be the same, then we'll have a plus C, and then A will be the same, and then I guess we've added all of this. We've added T, right? Is that... Oh no, we've gotten rid of, I guess we've gotten rid of a C here. Maybe I'll just pull up the Wikipedia article. Right, so we add an A, then G, then we remove the C. No. Add an A, G is the same. Right, yeah, we add a C, A is the same. So I got that right, I guess. I got this right. But so, this is a strict comparison here. I suppose I could have made my life a little bit easier, but if we, let's say now we wanted to see if agcat was, or GAC was, well, this is not a great example. So let's maybe switch to numbers. And in my tests, I actually have, so let's just pull out equal arrays. So here, let's go 1, 3, 5, 2, 5. And let's go 1, 500, 5, 10, 2. So if we look at this, right, 1 is the same, right? We've subtracted 3 and added 500. Then 5 is the same. Then we've gotten rid of 2, and we've gotten rid of 5, and we've added 10, and we've added 2, right? So now so what are we doing here? We're seeing in this output, right, this is how we change from to 2 using the equality or strict equality operator. So we're saying this doesn't change, right? 3 goes to 500, 5 doesn't change, and then 2 and 5 got removed, and 10 and 2 got added. And so if we now change this to less than, right, from is less than 2, right? So actually that passes, but let's let's go greater. So we're saying one, well, now that what I was thinking in my head was, so 1 actually fails the condition here, right? But that's not why this expression is failing. This expression is failing because of this 3 and this 500. and then 5, and then 2, and then 5 are okay. Then if we have where are equal arrays? So let's just do this down here as well. So from equals that, and 2 equals that, right? Let's just get our comments line up here to try and make life a little easier. So this, they are loosely equal. And this fails because we never pass, right? So if we were going to map from to 2 using this operator, because I guess what I was thinking was, if we're doing a strict equality here, so let's put this back in here. From equals 2, and from, let's just actually yank this again. So we have this, then we're saying 1 is equal. We got rid of 3, added 5, 5 is equal, and then we got rid of 2 and 5 and added 10 and 2. And I guess my thinking was, okay, because this is an equality comparison, every one of these needs to change to make this satisfy, right? We can't just change 3, we've got to change 2 and 5 as well to 10 and 2. Whereas in this one, the reason this fails is because of here, right? If we changed 3 to be greater than 500, or, if we change this element to be greater than 500, then the rest of the expression would pass, right? Even though we're doing it greater than, even though this 2 is less than 10, because we're kind of taking these, I guess, as numbers of significance. We don't need to change every number. We just need to change the part where it fails. But I guess is what I was thinking was, right, the reason why this threw me off is because this actually fails. The 1 actually fails, but that is not what's causing, right? 1 is not greater than 1. So that fails this, but it also, I guess, doesn't rule out that it could still be met. So that this equality is kind of what's throwing me off, I guess, because now if we go back to here, and one of the things I was wrestling with was if we just do a diff formatted based off generating a diff based off an equality comparison, right? This comparison is going to fail. Let's just, I feel like just kind of make clear, and I guess I'll just go to this window, what we're trying to do here. Right, if we use sort of equality diff formatting for this inequality expression, right, we're essentially going to have that with no change, with no additions or subtractions, because everything is equal. But I guess what I was thinking is, well, okay, but we're not actually doing a diff for an equality, we're doing a diff for a less than or greater. So maybe it would be more correct to do. See if I can figure out how to do this. So, okay. So it might actually be more correct to format this. And perhaps this isn't a great example because we have different actual types in here. So if we just get rid of this difference in types, right, a diff for having this fail, for having this greater than comparison fail, would be this, because we expected something greater than 1, 2, 3, 4, but we got exactly 1, 2, 3, 4. But I guess what's tripping me up here is, right, not every element here needs to change to make the diff happy. Like we could just change this to 2 and everything passes. And I guess that's also tripping me up here because even though this fails the expression or fails this comparison, that's not why we're failing, because we have more options. Because I was thinking there's a different algorithm. I was thinking in my head there's a different algorithm we could run to sort of get this output, because essentially what we're outputting now, because we're doing essentially a strict, we're generating a diff based off of, we're formatting the diff based off equality, is we're getting, this is the diff, in this case this is the diff we're getting, even though 2 and 10 don't really factor into it here. And in this, I guess, is weird because, again, even though everything here is wrong, changing any one of these would fix this. So we don't even need to just change 2. We could change this to 5, and then, right, everything would be fine. So I guess that's a little bit weird. And I thought I had a nice solution in my head that was maybe pointing to an alternate implementation, or maybe not an alternate, well, an alternate implementation based on what sort of operator we were using. We could sort of pick which implementation, but I guess I have to think a little bit more about what that implementation would be, and if this is a better format than just this. So this, or right, and some of this is again sort of the expectations, or not the expectations, but well, expectations, but what we're used to looking at from a diff, because right, we're not normally doing this comparison, or we're normally used to looking at a diff for this comparison. Maybe, I just have this as scratch, but I think maybe I'll write this to diff notes, just so I can maybe look at this later and think about this. So I guess it's always good to type this stuff out, because I thought I had a solution in my head, and now looking at this, to be honest, it's sort of thrown off what I was thinking. I don't know if that's going to change what I'm going to work on, or hope to work on, although now I'm sort of stewing about this, because the implication of having to sort of implement a subtle algorithm means, okay, we need the code base to be flexible enough to see what sort of operation we're doing, and then sort of run the right algorithm. And that was leading me towards just going into the diff file and taking a closer look at that and cleaning that up to the extent that it needs to be cleaned up. But also, because it's been such a long time since I've looked at that, kind of getting my hands wrapped around what's going on in there again. But now I'm not sure if we're going, I mean, so I think that needs to be done regardless. But now I don't know if that's leading me towards a different algorithm implementation. So I don't know, I'll have to think on that. Oops. So I was thinking I would come in here and start off by changing how we're formatting diffs, because if we want greater but they're actually equal, we're just outputting this diff that shows that nothing has changed. And I thought, well, maybe it's more appropriate to do, even though these are equal, to do the, you know, the minus plus thing. Because it's showing, hey, nothing is either greater than, nothing is greater than anything else. But as kind of an aside, I guess one thing I was thinking, I've made the decision here, right? In this case, because actual and minimum are not actually equal or identical, we have a choice about what to show here for elements that do match the condition. And I think actual is what we want to show. But I believe now that has set up an inconsistency. Well, I guess that inconsistency was always there in the assertion API, because if we're doing equality comparisons, we are taking the expected parameters first and the actual parameter is second. And in this case, maybe assert different isn't a great example, but in assert equal, where things can be equal but not identical, right, we are defaulting to showing expected instead of actual. And it's just, right, basically just a parameter name difference, but essentially this assert greater, right, minimum is expected in a certain to a certain extent, right? We are expecting actual will be greater than this minimum, with the minimum being the expected minimum. But it just seems sense to right, in our head, it makes, you know, greater, you know, actual, you know, x, y, I think probably maps for most people quite normally to that. So if we get back some actual value, and we want it to be above some minimum value, that maps to actual greater than min, which is essentially the exact opposite of equal expected actual. So I guess all of this is to say, I think I want to go and make actual the first parameter for everything, and this just seems like fiddling around with naming stuff, but all of this is API. And since, you know, if this was a 1.0, and also, right, like I just said, this also has implications for how the diff is formatted, because in this, I don't know why I deleted. Oh, I guess I know. So that maps to expected equals actual. So this has implications on diff formatting, because in this case we're showing expected by default, and in this case we're showing actual by default. So swapping these also has implications for how the diff is formatted. And I'm not sure if I finished this thought, but even though it's just a name change, it's an important detail because this is again an API function, right? This is a public facing. This is a function that I'm telling users is available for them to use. So it's actually a fairly major change, and I think getting it right is important. And if it was the sort of thing where if this is a 1.0 release or there are other people actually using the framework, I might just, at least this format, I would live with the inconsistency and maybe handle this formatting within these functions. But since it's basically just me sitting here coding to myself, I think I may go ahead and make this change. So let's set this file back to where it was. Yeah. So we'll do that. Actual, expected. I guess here it doesn't really. Oop. Now I screwed that up. And we just format actual here. And then we have actual. The actual comparison itself doesn't matter, but we do want to change that. Assert false actual, assert falsy actual, actual comes first, actual comes first, identical, so we want to put then I think that's okay there. Assert less, actual is less, or actual is first, actual is first. This we don't even have an actual. Actual is first, actual is first. And here we want the actual order of the comparison. Guess it doesn't really matter there, but whatever. So I'll sort these. These. I think that's it. So let's see what we did to ourselves there. Not as many errors as I would have thought. I think, right? Well, 10. Okay, so that's a healthy number. So where are we? 1118. And all of this is just going to be I think that'll fix that one. 9, so now we're in 1095. That'll fix that one. Now we're in 331. Oops. fixes that one. Now we're in 3 and 2. So we have actual, expected. And we're in 6, no, not 6, 6 failures, but so expected. Uses provided message. Oh, I see what's going on here. I think that fixes that one. Test showed, where are we? 262. This one is looking a little more complicated. So I think, so we had, so I think this is just swapping these. Is that what's going on there? No. Oh, we expect, okay, we gotta swap the signs here too. That fixes that one. 106. '81. So this is and did the actual I guess that that fixed that. So I guess everything there is fixed. So in 62. So theoretically, now every single assertion I make in the framework is now wrong. Because, or at least where I use assert identical, insert equal. So what is going on here? So what is getting passed in here? Expected, and what is, we don't know what expected is. Oh, expected is, an actual is events. So this is getting called from where we test runner, test dependencies, 259. So we must have an actual yeah, we have an actual diff in the message here. Is that it? No, we need to change. Okay, that fixes that. And then we are still in test dependencies, line 33. Do I have another one? I do. Do I have another one? Is this all in the same? What do I have? One. It's like I had two more, so I guess this is all. Let me just check. Oh no, okay, that went back to the beginning maybe? I don't know. It's passing now. Everything's fine. So this is going to be a fairly huge, well, I guess it's not a huge documentation change, but it does mean a change in documentation. Was that all I changed in? Oh, I guess there's a skip there. So let me just make sure I am back on the correct branch. Change order of assertion expected and actual parameters. Make order of assertion parameters consistent. Okay. All right. Sorry, I'm just going to look at my. Oh, my buddy wants to celebrate something. And let me just let me just see if he's celebrating what I think he is. Sweet, okay. Sorry, I really should be better. Right, I've got the turning off my phone part down, but I need to. I guess I don't even really need to have it next to me, or I should just put a sheet of paper on top of it or something. And it's kind of funny that I keep poking at it or looking at it, because I feel like, of course, maybe this is like me and being good about managing my comments. I feel like I'm not really one of those doom scrollers, or I'm constantly checking my phone. But on stream, it seems like I'm always kind of looking at it. Maybe that's just nerves or something, but who knows? Okay, so I guess we're back in a clean state. And we should get into this. And I guess just coming in here to refactor for refactor's sake probably isn't all that useful, because I figured I would, right, like I sort of started off saying, I was coming in here thinking I was going to be refactoring with the goal of implementing some different, potentially subtly different diff algorithms, but I don't know that that's the case anymore. So instead of coming in here to just, well, like I just said, refactor for refactoring's sake, let me take a look at my to-do. I think I took out the one, this I actually managed to keep up to date about. handling of less than and equal then, but I have all these other to-dos. Oh, and I guess I knocked that out without even thinking about it. So I'm compelled to do this key one, but I think, or I find that compelling. If I was compelled, I guess I wouldn't have a choice but to do it. But I think what I'm going to do is do this caching, because the fact that we don't cache these makes diff generation pretty inefficient. Like when I run my framework normally, you can see it's less than 1/10 of a second to run the entire test suite. But if something fails, now these diffs end up getting generated. It like doubles or triples the runtime, and not that it needs to be the same time, but I think part of that is because we are not doing any sort of, we're being perfectly inefficient might be the word there. So I guess that might be a good place to start, and that's where I was thinking about starting initially when I decided to change this add support for less than and greater than. And so maybe I'll try and do that again. So I think this diff is where we're actually holding, right, the diff. Yeah. And then for array or variable formatting, I have this stuff, and I was thinking, well, I don't know, one thing at a time. But I guess basically what I'm talking about is, oops. I'm not even sure what this would be. I guess a string array? A public cache, maybe just to make this explicit, a matrix cache. And let me think about what this is going to be. This is going to be an array of string to an array of string and maybe mixed. Because I think, well, I'm going to have to work this out, but I feel like what we're going to have is our cache is going to be have something like from to equals, right, basically our diff. And that just allows us, once we've generated it, so maybe I'll put that up there so PHP Stan doesn't get too ornery with me. So I think, okay, we have what, diff values. So I think it says LCS values. So this is where we actually generate the matrix. Or is it? No, LCS array I think is where this happens. Yes, this is our actual no, this is not. So we create our matrix. We get the count of from and to. then for each element of from and each element of to, if from and to are 0, then we initialize that row or column to 0 and we're done. Otherwise, we get, so just to sort of pull up the algorithm for reference here. All right, so that this here initializes everything to 0. Then we get the from value, which is from -1 comes from up here, and to -1 comes from over here, because this is from to to. So we get that, and then we do LCS values, which is where the actual comparison happens. And if they're equal, then we put in here this plus whatever the whatever. Oh, we get, what do we get back? I guess this initializes LCS because that's passed by reference, I think. Yeah, so this actually initializes LCS here. And so if these two values are equal, or they meet whatever comparison we passed in, then this gets set, and we set the new value here to this plus that. Otherwise, we get the oh, this isn't the value. This is the actual, right? Because the matrix, our diff matrix is actually starting with 0 initialized to 0. This is actually grabbing the value out of from. So this is the actual, yeah, I mean, it says that right there. The from value and the to value, but we have to subtract 1 because now we're now going from 1 to the length of whatever the value is, when what we want is, right, normally if you're indexing into array, it's from 0 to length -1. Okay, so this is where the actual value is. So this is the part where we take the maximum value of either this or this. If there's not a match, and if we have a value, then we get the max of either that value or that value. This is the tweak in the algorithm, I believe. From if you look, so we add the LCS to this, and then whatever the maximum of all three of these is, we stick there. That computes our LCS, and we stick there. So this is what we would like to do. Is now the problem is we're not actually passing in the name of from and to, which is what we need here. Because part of processing the values for the initial processing of from and to generate this diff is we walk through and we kind of construct a name for everything. And that is how, I don't even know if I have something. Oh, this is the actual, okay, well. If we need to reference some of my diffs, I've shown where I've referenced other values in the variable that's being passed in, and so that's how we generate that name. So we want to pass that around. Well, we also need access to the array. Or the cache array. So let me think about this a little bit. My coffee cup is empty. It's almost empty. But the fact that it is empty means I now need to get rid of some coffee. So I'm going to take a quick bathroom break, maybe freshen up my water, and think about this while I'm away. I forgot the best way to handle this. And this LCS values we're passing in a reference and setting that, a reference to the LCS value and setting that. I think I may just, well, I think I may change that. That's what I'm trying to say. So I'm going to set this to like a conservative 4 minutes. But anyway, I'll be back in a few minutes. Well, so much for setting a conservative 4 minutes. I guess I took longer. Sorry about that. But you know, you got to do what you got to do, I suppose. Okay. So I think I'm going to bump this out. Right. As I said, when we go full screen on the code editor here, things are about to get serious. So where do we call LCS array from? We call it for strings, arrays, and objects. And so what is this? Diff values. All right, so here is where we're actually creating the diff. And then here is where we're just using the matrix to figure out that LCS number. And this is the whole point of caching this array, because when we come back in, we don't need to regenerate it. Right, when we've calculated the array to figure out this LCS number, we shouldn't need to have to generate it again to create the actual diff. And so we have the actual function, right? So we call it twice, once to, well, in one situation we're calling it to generate the actual diff, in the other situation we're calling it to just get that LCS number. And we're calling it for multi-line strings, I guess. Objects and arrays, which all makes sense. That all makes sense. So now I wonder if I should just pass, I think I should just pass in the diff state. And I wonder then if I should hold because that will have the cached matrices, and then interface value. So which really we don't have a name, or his name. Where's that key? How are we, let's see how we're calculating this key. So this is called recursively. Oh, we're passing in this name. Okay, so where are we using this name? So check reference, that's in util now. I think that returns a string or false. So name is just used to hold the name. So we're not hanging onto this name outside of the actual processing. A hard time with that word. Processing of values. But I think we're going to want to store that now so that we can use that to index into the matrix array. which means so I guess this is what interface value. This is going to return a string and public function name. So implements value. Oh, we hold a name there. I guess I should not have bugged out of that function so quickly. So array function, process value. All right, so name. So we pass it in a reference, and we basically get, I think, the name back. And if it's a reference, we pass that in. Then this is an array. We generate a sub-value using this name, but then, okay, so we pass the name into array. And then we do this to generate the properties, but we also pass the name into object. What do we do for strings? We do not pass the name in for string. Which we probably want to do. So maybe, okay, instead of screwing around with the interface right now, so we have class array, which has a name. Don't know if that we actually have a function to access that, but it kind of doesn't really. Well, it is private. Then we have object. And I suppose I could get really oopy here and have a composite value as a subtype of just a value. But part of me also kind of wants to just nuke most of this, but yes, this is a string, and this is going to be private. I guess name. We're going to want to update the constructor. What am I doing with these other ones? I guess we're passing in the name first. String name. Name. Name equals name. Over here under your string, we're going to pass in the name. All right, let's see what that does for us. How is it possible that broke so much stuff? Oh, because it does not like, I guess. Oh, and also I updated. What did I put here? Oh, oh, I forgot a comma. Which fixed nothing. Has invalid. Oh, I guess I need to make that array. Okay, well that's going to change. And then we need to fix, I guess, calling LCS array. So what are the chances? So I'll pass in the state. State. although we don't have state here. So we're going to need to update that. Okay, LCS values, so we'll take the diff state here. So now we need to update calls to this. That has a state. Don't need that extra parentheses, and this does have the state. So we should be back to working. Oh, diff. Okay, so now we're back here to blah 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 never being red. LCS array. So at this point now, I think well, that's not all we need to do. Essentially, this needs to be a value. And I don't know if I need to array or object or string. I don't know if I need to like templatize this function. We'll see what PHP Stan has to think about it. So let's just see. This is really gonna, I think, percolate through. Oh. So that's easy enough. So now the only, oops, so that actually should be fine, although because of type hinting or whatever, PHP Stan will probably think I'm passing in more stuff than I'm allowed to. Yeah. And I guess instead of trying to, so what we'll just do is if from instance of this is going to be string, then let's just assert that to assert to instance of string, and then that should be fine, right? Let me just make sure that, how many errors do we have? 13. Yeah, and then so this is going to be from is instance of array or from instance of object Why does this think I didn't close? $12.51. Oh, I guess this is where I'm checking to see. to ensure these are the same type. I feel like PHP stand is still not going to like. Wait, why? Okay, I guess I should just take these in order. Which I thought I was doing, but obviously not. Okay, from instance of string, assert to instance of string. That's 1199, 1206. Assert from instance of can I pass in multiple types in instance of? Or can I only check on one? Is a so one weird thing, I don't know if it's weird, but instance of, so we're saying array or from instance of object is I don't know if there is a clean way other than doing like a get class comparison to check that from and to are classes of the same type. Let's just see what happens here. And also, if PHP will PHP stand will understand that's what I'm trying to do. So 12, 10. No, it does not. Parameter 3. I guess I can just change this assertion. And to instance of, which is slightly annoying, but there you go. And to instance of object. That should make PHP stand happy, hopefully. Okay. So now we're in 1256. Did I change something there? Where's this? 1256? I feel like I may have changed that without paying close attention to what I was doing. So 12 so if array equals from type or object equals from type, and get class from value equals get class to value. So what is ignored? Oh, okay, that changed my baseline. All right. And I guess I can just change No, I'm not going to do that. I don't know. Maybe there's a better way to structure that comparison to make the static analyzer happy, but well, maybe I'll just do that anyway. The from and the to instance of. Now, I kind of wish I was a little bit more confident about the order of sort of precedence of instance of versus the Boolean operators. Oh, of course, I forgot. And now this should be happy about this. Right. Uh, 1280. Oh, this is going to be, okay, so this is going to be count subvalues. And then, so instead of, so from values, let's call this from values equals from subvalues. To values equals to subvalues. And I'm going to change from here to f values. Okay. And the 2 here is going to change to 2 values. See if that makes everybody happy. Yes, it does. I guess I'll just make my baseline so I can get through static analysis here, although I guess I could have just run the test. So that does make everybody happy. And now I think all we need to do at this point is I'm just gonna slam this in here, I guess. Public function name, and that's going to be return. Or I could just, you know what? Make a public, and the same thing for object. So if is set state what did I call it now? Matrix cache. Matrix cache from name, and then to name. Then we will result equals state matrix cache from name. I'll return that result. Okay, so then what do we do at the bottom here? We make this edit. Oh, well, I guess we... I guess we have to do all this up here. Right, because we need to return this edit. And that is the from length, to length, and the matrix. Otherwise, we create a new matrix, we go through all this business, and then state matrix cache from name to name matrix, and then we'll return the edit. So I think what did I call this? Didn't I look that up? Matrix. Oh, matrix. Yeah, I did not create a property called matrix. Matrix. Oh, so I have the edit, whatever this edit class is. I guess it's not an array, it's an array of string to string to int. Array of int to int. We're getting deep into the arrays here. Array of string to string. Oh, okay. I think this is going on because, and I think this is one of my other baseline things. So because we're passing in since this is a reference, LCS as far as PHP stand is concerned can be anything. But I think the fact that we're like calling max here, I don't know why this thinks this is a float. Let me just check. Yeah, in fact, we have that edit, or we have that error for passing that into edit. Doink. Okay, so we'll just remake our baseline. PHP Stan is happy now. And I think we're working. Seems like we are. We've dropped about 0.01 seconds off of our... And maybe we can just spam some output here. I like that message. So we're using, let's throw some more, oops. Let's see what we get here. And let's see what happens if we... Sweet. Okay. I like that. Okay, well, I was not thinking about knocking off this early, but a buddy of mine who's been involved in a court case appears to have had a favorable outcome and wants to go celebrate. So I may actually go join him for that. And that is done. So let me see what we did here. We got rid of one thing and replaced it with another. In the baseline anyway. Because I feel like even though this is working, this stuff with all these objects and interfaces, I don't know, I feel like that could be made a lot better. I don't know, maybe not. And I guess there's even debate whether that's worth my time or just busy work of coding. That actually was not a large change. That was just mostly me trying to figure out what I was doing. Yeah, that was like 50 lines. But I guess it's matrices. Matrices as opposed to matrices. Well, anyway. I guess I push that up. I mean, PHP 8.2 is going to fail, but we don't have JIT or diff up there. So I'll just check real quick to see if that passes. I guess I'll go private just to make sure I'm logged into to GitHub. And it looks like I am. So I'll minimize that. What am I trying to do here? I'm trying to look at actions and make sure. Oh, 5.5 and... Well, that's no good. Let's see what's going on here. Really? What is going on there? I'm actually not sure I have time to dig into this. I wonder if there's some sort of fussiness with. All right, let me look real quick. This is a assert grader. Yep. Test assertions. This is test equal arrays. So is there actually a formatting difference going on with the different versions of PHP? Okay. Yeah, unfortunately, I guess I'm gonna put this on the shelf for next time. I don't know, maybe even later tonight. We'll see what happens when I go out. But otherwise, probably tomorrow. But I'm glad to have that cache stuff done. And I think it's giving me a better idea of the code. I don't know. There's probably not actually too much that really needs to change in there. I just don't like. It just seems kind of long and cluttered to me. So, but maybe I'm just being OCD or something. But anyway, that's going to be the stream. If anybody's watching me, I appreciate you hanging out, and wherever you are, I hope you're having a nice day and you are taking care of yourself and being well. So I guess I probably won't see you, but you'll see me. So take care.